Friday! Welcome back to Drinking by My Shelf. My name is Emma and today I'm going to be doing the Nevermind book tag, which was created by Amber from Reading Infinitely. So this is all about the books that we've changed our minds on. I always think it's really weird and interesting how much you actually can change your minds on books, on different readings of them. So thought it was a great tag. Okay, so question one is a straightforward one. What's a book that either you rated high and then changed your mind, or you rated low and then changed your mind? I've got a few answers. Very recently, when I've just got here, for the Book Junkie Trials, I read Stardust. It was the group book, and I had read this about 5 years ago and really liked it. Like, I'd seen the film loads of times and loved the film, and I read this and thought it was great. And my standard thing is always to think that the book is better than the film. And I thought it was, at least as good as the film. And I also remember thinking it was quite different from the film, so that's also why I rated it highly, was because I was like, it's just a very different experience. But when I read it this time, I'm going to say I was borderline bored. And actually was like, I would have rather just watched the film, which is such a rare sentence to come out of my mouth. And also, I know it's been a while since I read it, but I didn't think it was very different from the film at all. Like, basically, everything I was reading, I was like, yeah, I can picture this scene in the film, but it's just slightly more boring to read about it. So that was a big mind change. The other way around, a book, I don't think I have it, but there's a book called The Dead Heart by Douglas Kennedy. And this was a really weird one because I read it. So both times now were ages ago. I barely remember this book, but I read it on a holiday one summer and thought it was really weird, but like really intense, really exciting and gripping, and I really enjoyed it. And I used to keep, before I had Goodreads or anything, I used to keep a physical book. I wonder where that book is, where I'd write down all the books that I read. Oh, I hope I still have that, because I kept it since I was really young. And when I went, and it was sorted alphabetical by author's surnames. So when I went to K to write in Douglas Kennedy, The Dead Heart, literally like a few lines up, I'd read it before, and not even like ages before. I'd read it like the year before, and I had no idea this was a reread. Like, when I was reading this book, it felt like it was a brand new book, but I'd read it like a year before and I'd rated it 1 out of 5 stars and written a comment like, this was terrible and really boring. So somehow I massively changed my mind on that book, but also totally erased my memory of the first time reading it completely. It was really, really bizarre. So there you go, there's one from each side. Question 2 is a book that you bought because of the cover but might not read. So I don't think I've got any books that I literally bought without having the intention to read them. But books that I kind of keep even though I might not read them. I actually do have an answer for this, 1 second. So I have got here my Jonas Jonasson collection, and I have read 3 out of 4 of them. This middle one, can't get it out, Hitman Anders, I bought it fully with the intention of reading it because I really loved his last 2, and I was really excited to read it. But then both RG tried it and couldn't get into it, and my sister tried it and couldn't get into it. So I basically just took it off my TBR and decided that I wouldn't bother reading it if neither of them liked it. But I really like, that they all match and that they've got this collection. So I'm basically just keeping it for the most shallow reasons, solely because I like, it's not exactly like bought it because I liked the cover, but I like having that cover with all of the others, even though I'm not going to read it. So I changed my mind on that one. Question number 3 is a book that you constantly put on your TBR but never get to. Up until like a week ago, the answer to this would have been easy. It would have been Nutshell by Ian McEwan. This was the book, before I read it, this was the book that I'd had on my physical TBR for the longest. And I used to keep, like, every month, be like, this is the month, I'm going to read Nutshell. And I just kept putting it off because I sort of just thought it would be really inaccessible for some reason. I finally read it last week, and I read it all in one sitting on the plane. It was not inaccessible at all. It was really great fun, and I loved it. So I can't believe I put it off for so long. So that would have been my answer. Do I have an answer now? So I guess I'll say Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, just because that's now the longest book I've had on my TBR. But it's not that I keep actually deciding to read it each month and then changing my mind. I just keep not picking it up. I don't know why, because I'm really, really excited about reading it. I think I'm going to love it. Question number 4, a hyped book that you're not sure you're interested in. Well, that's most of them, really. I'm not interested in fantasy, and a lot of the really hyped books on BookTube are fantasy, so basically most of them. Most of the ones that everyone gets really excited about I'm not interested in. Question number 5, a book you DNF'd. Well, the last book I DNF'd was The Girl in 6E. I read about half of it and then just realised I couldn't be bothered to keep going, so that one is trashed. Question number 6, an ending that made you change your mind about books. So either you weren't enjoying it and then the ending was really good and that made you love the book, or vice versa. Oh, that's definitely a thing that's happened. But now I'm having a blank. I can't think of any. I'm just trying to look at my bookshelves to see. Aha! So my answer to that one is Gone Without a Trace by Mary Torgerson. So this one, the whole way through, it's a thriller. It's marketed as a thriller, but the whole way through, I was just really bored. I was just not into it. I didn't think it was an engaging story at all. Then it got to the twist at the end, and the twist was really clever, and I hadn't predicted it at all, and was a really interesting angle, and totally like rewrote the whole story as you'd seen it. So that was really cool, and suddenly I was like, wow, I'm so into this. I love that ending. That was a really interesting story. It didn't make me change my mind on the book, because I still think if the book was boring, it was boring. Like, just because the ending was really good and clever doesn't mean that I wasn't bored while reading it. So it doesn't actually change my opinion on the book, but I did think I was going to finish this one and just be like, oh my god, meh. And actually the ending did cast a whole new light on the book. Question number 7 is a series that you are loving but now you're not sure if you'll continue, or the other way around, one that you weren't sure about but now you are. So that's a difficult one for me because I don't really read series very often. The only example I can think of is maybe the series of Unfortunate Events books, because I loved those when I was a kid, and I did start from the beginning. I never finished them. I read like the first 8 or something and then kind of stopped. I guess I thought I got too old for them, and then I reread from the beginning about 5 years ago, and again got through them really fast up to about book 8 and then kind of trailed off. So that would be a series that I was really enjoying but kind of kept losing interest in. Question 8 is a genre that you changed your mind on. So I'm going to say for that one, I've got 2. Historical fiction is something that up until this year I basically just always avoided. I thought I wasn't interested at all, and actually this year I've read a lot of historical fiction that I've really, really enjoyed. Like The Doll Factory was brilliant, The Glove Maker was brilliant. Basically I just found that I had been totally judgmental about a massive genre that I actually really like. Oh, and I said I had 2 answers, didn't I? Yeah, the other one I was going to say was horror. So I always thought I was way too scared to read horror, but when I read a ton of them for book break, I actually found that I really enjoyed the experience. Like, some of them were way too, like, gross, and I didn't like those. There's still, if it's like certain types of horror, I'm not going to be interested. I'm not interested in like a zombie book or something. But I did find that the slightly supernatural, really creepy ones I actually really enjoyed. Okay, and the last question is question 9. Who is a character that you changed your mind about, whether good or bad? Ooh, I know. Actually, I have an answer for this. I've got one in each direction, 2 Jane Austen characters. So, firstly, the character of Emma. When I first read Emma, I hated her. Partly because she had my name and then was a total bitch with it, and Mr. Knightley was cross with her. So I was just like, Emma sucks, and I hate it. But I thought that Marianne from Sense and Sensibility was the absolute shit. Like, I loved her, I idolised her, I thought we were really similar. I thought she was so romantic and passionate and independent, carefree spirit, and we should all be like her, and that I was like her, and I was going to continue to be over emotional and passionate because I was just being like Marianne, and that was great. I've massively changed my mind on both of those characters. I now think that Emma Woodhouse is fucking brilliant. Like, yes, she's super snobby and meddling and kind of awful. I'm not saying she's like a really good person, but she is a fantastic character. She's such a real character, and she's someone that I think I would be friends with in real life. I'd get annoyed at her all the time, and I'd have to keep telling her to just mind her own business. But I do think she's a great character, one of the most realistic characters I've ever read. She's just great. And Marianne, on the other hand, is just a whiny, snivelling, irritating little child. She's not romantic and passionate, all those things I thought she was. She's just completely self-absorbed and can't see anything outside her own wallowing that she's decided to do. I do, for the record, still kind of relate to her, but it's, not a quality that I am proud of in myself. So there you go, loads of things that I've changed my mind about. That's a really cool tag, so thanks to Amber for inventing that, and do leave a comment letting me know who you guys have changed your mind about or which books you've changed your mind about. And of course, give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button below for new videos every Friday and Monday. I think that's when I post. And what else do I do? That's it. That's everything. Okay, see you next time.